Spike's New Brother Chapter 6 One Step at a Time. Last time we saw our heroes John and Spike, Spike by order of his mother was engaged to 7 beautiful mares and he was going to be crowned as Prince of Equestria. However, this was all too much for the young dragon to handle, so he did what all males do in this type of situation. He flat out collapsed. Then John, a 13-year-old human, comes to Equestria because his life sucks. He was homeless, but he had a good heart, and he managed to get into Equestria. However, things took a funny turn. Spike was about to be ripped to pieces by 6 jealous fiancés, but his new brother John tried to get him out of there. Luna tried to help them as well, but while doing so, John accidentally invoked an ancient marriage custom. By pulling off Luna's necklace, he became her fiancé, and Princess Celestia was more than happy to hurry things along. But as for John, he wanted to stay single a little longer. I mean, you couldn't blame him. It was all too overwhelming for him to do. So, what else did he do? What else? He got the Sam Buck out of there, and with the help of Twilight's parents, he managed to get out of there with Spike in tow. Now, our young hero is pondering, how will this work out? Will Spike marry the main 6 and Trixie? Will he marry Luna? If you don't think this funny or craziness can't get any worse, and by worse I mean great, then you thought wrong. Well, let's find out. Morning in Canterlot. The birds were chirping, every pony in the castle from the guards to the maids were up and about doing their regular scheduled duties. As that time, Princess Celestia had just raised the sun. She was trotting with an extra pep in her step, while after all her son was about to leave for another world, but instead gains another son, another successor to the throne, 7 new daughter-in-laws, plus her sister after so many centuries finally finding her special sun pony. As of right now, she couldn't be any happier. Everything that she wanted was coming true. Celestia decided it was time to go to the throne room and continue with the daily duties. The usual, keeping fellow country ponies and countries from going to war with each other, settling disputes and making sure everything in Equestria goes smoothly. However, she was secretly trying to figure out how she can get John and Spike back here to the castle in order to get the wedding on the way. Before she had to find out how to keep them restrained long enough for them to say I do. Celestia was chuckling to herself. She just couldn't wait for the weddings. She was thinking of the themes for each mare. First, a sports wedding for the sportive decorations and of course, appearance of the Wonderbolts for Rainbow Dash, a fashion theme for Rarity, a huge party for Pinkie Pie, a nature theme for Fluttershy, a cowboy theme for Applejack. Now for Twilight, a library theme with many books and many scrolls. However, she was nervous about Spike and Twilight while she knew that it wasn't really Twilight's fault that she hurt Spike. She knew all too well about Dragon Heartbreak, and Spike would likely still be mad at her. She knew one night was not going to be enough for him to get over his broken heart. She was hoping now that Spike knew that Twilight had always loved him more than a brother, and if they were to marry, their marriage would slowly repair the damage that King Sombra had done. Once the damage had been repaired with a little help from his newfound brother, then hopefully she would have a grandchild from them. Heck, maybe even more than one. At that last thought, she giggled.
Oh, Spike. If he does marry the main 6... Oh, wait, well, Trixie. Yes, I have to have a magician-themed wedding for her, after all. She has changed. She truly is in love with my son, and he with her. If he wasn't, I doubt that claw of his would not have been going where it was going to, especially with the way he went about it.
Celestia then blushed profusely.
My, I didn't know my little boy was that skilled. He must have gotten that from whoever his father or mother was, and I'm pretty sure that the father must have been one heck of a romantic. I didn't know my son had it in him to get into Trixie into a deepening kiss and just immensely dominant one. If he does so on that honeymoon with each of his wives...
She had one of the funniest scenes in her life, just like Luna. Her wings shot straight up, and then she began chuckling, but more like an evil villain planning her next move. Chuckling something you would never have expected from the princess.
Is our highness alright?
Celestia's head shot straight up, and she had the biggest, deepest blush she ever had. She unknowingly kept walking straight into the throne room, not noticing that the maids and guards were getting into their positions, as they always have done, and heard everything she was thinking and planning. She even looked down underneath her, and that's when she noticed that she was on her throne. Celestia couldn't even remember when she sat upon it, and she looked towards one of the guards, still blushing.
How much did you hear? How long have you been there? And do you think I'm a total evil villain right now? And just to be clear, there will be no repercussions for any pony who tells me the truth.
Many of the sun guards and maids looked at her sheepishly. They wanted to say it, but to be truthful, they just couldn't bring themselves to do it.
Well, how do I put this?
Suddenly, a mysterious voice spoke up.
What he means to say is that you acted like a complete and utter crazy fool, funny, dangerous.
Celestia snapped her head around, and every maid in Sunguard gasped. They wanted to know one thing. Who was stupid enough to say it? The maid was Rose, an earth pony. Her family had served in the royal kingdom over 1,000 years. She wore a green-colored maid outfit with a basic white apron that you usually see on a maid. Her cutie mark was a heart with the symbol of a servant's barnet in the middle of the heart. Her mane was a light rosy pink, and her fur as white as snow.
If you must know who told you this, it is I, Rose, your humble maid and friend for many years. So now, my dear princess, if you would be so kind and act like a princess and stop acting like a little child right before Heart and Hooves Day.
Celestia looked at her like she was crazy. Every pony in the room leaned in, dreading what was going to happen. But all Celestia could do was laugh.
Oh, Rose, your family has always been there for me for 1,000 years, through the good times and the bad. Your family has always been straight up truthful and tough as nails. You're darn right. What do you expect from one of the oldest families in your service? We have been there for you from the start. From the moment you took your throne, to Nightmare Moon, to Discord, and to this day. And now, if you'd be so kind, get it together! You're making a fool out of yourself,
She said as she laughed with every word. Every pony hearing this started to chuckle. Rose's family had been the longest and oldest serving family, and the only family that had the guts to basically tell the princess's face how it is. It didn't really matter how big and powerful the princess was. If she or he had something on the mind, they were going to say it. If the family thought the princesses were out of line, they put her back in line. In time, Celestia came to respect this, and when she was alone or sad, that family was always there for her. So she made a proclamation that no matter what, none of the household members can ever be fired or punished, unless it was necessary or they truly deserved to be punished. But Celestia was now looking at Rose in a daze, and she quickly shook it off and gave her a frown, puffed up her cheeks in frustration as if she was acting like a little child throwing a fit.
Oh, be quiet. I've waited many years, and soon my dream of finally being a grandmother is within my grasp. So back off,
Celestia warned her. Rose cocked one eyebrow at her, giving the "Really, you serious?" look.
Oh, real mature princess. For being 1,000 years old, you act like a 6-year-old. I see you two are upon your usual antics.
Luna added. Both Rose and Celestia turned around to see that Luna had just entered the throne room. She had been watching the entire time, enjoying every second of it. However, Rose had a little smirk on her face as she looked at Luna, and Luna flinched at this.
Oh, so is that so? Miss, I finally found my special sun pony, or in your case, they found you. Celestial told me all about Mr. Take Charge.
Luna started blushing. She knew where Rose was going with this, and as for the other maids and the guards, they had front row seats to the best comedy in all of Equestria. While they didn't really laugh out loud, in their minds they were keeling over.
Why, hopping on your back, then taking your necklace as if it was nothing. My kind of stallion, especially him being a human,
Rose said, teasing Luna even more. The moment she said that, Luna started fidgeting nervously. No one had really ever teased her like this for a long time. To make it worse, it was about her love life. She was breaking down like a little schoolgirl, and she looked so cute, trying to make an excuse, but all that came out were little mumbles, squeals, and squeaks. Celestia saw this and chuckled.
Oh, Rosie, leave little Lou alone. She can't help it. Even I never thought he would be her destined one. And for your information, I'm still the princess around here, and I am basically on cloud 9 here, and so is Luna. So once again, back off!
Celestia told Rose, defending her little sister, even if it really was for her own benefits.
Yes, I suppose I went too far yesterday, but you just don't understand. For many years I have courted many stallions, but outlived them. So I never had any children. Then Spike came as if a gift came from the celestial heavens. At first, when Twilight finally hatched him, and please do not mistake this as heartless, but I thought of him as any other dragon. While he was cute at first, I knew one day he would grow up to be mean, cruel, and selfish. In fact, after he was hatched, I was going to take him to a family of dragons that would adopt him.
Luna and Rose looked at each other, shocked.
Sister, I never knew.
Luna was surprised by this.
You're kidding me, right? Right?
Rose asked. Celestia expected these reactions from them.
No, I'm quite serious. After all, I was thinking as a princess at the time, so I didn't really know how to be a mother. My life was somewhat empty. Luna was gone, I had no one to love, so I thought it would be best for Spike to be with his kind.
She closed her eyes, and then all of a sudden a tear came dripping down from her right eye.
That is, until it happened.
Rose and Luna leaned in and asked in unison,
What? It was 3 days after he hatched. There was no place for him to stay, so he kind of remained in the castle, and I put him in my chambers. And it started to storm, like one of the worst storms I had ever seen. It got so bad that Spike began to cry, and this worried me. After all, like I said, I didn't really know how to be a mother, but for some strange reason, I knew exactly what to do. I used my magic and picked him up and sang a little song while rocking him back and forth. After I sang him that song, he settled down, but then he did something that would change me forever. He grabbed me by the neck and held me tight, and he said something that made me love him forever. I love you, Mommy. Me, Mommy's prince.
Baby Spike said.
At that moment, something just clicked. I realized I finally what I had longed for, a family, a son. I also realized that I have a lot to learn to truly become a princess. No matter what species, all creatures deserve to be loved and given a chance. I vowed on that night that I would love Spiky as my son. I would be his mother, and that one day I would help him start a family, and one day I would hope to hear my grandchildren from my only son.
Every pony hearing this, Rose, Luna, the other maids, and the guards had tears in their eyes. This was the first time that Celestia had shared something so private, so intimate, that they saw her in a new light.
That was beautiful. I guess I can see your point of view now.
Rose said, wiping the tears in her eyes.
I understand why you're pushing for this, and if that's what it means to be a mother, I don't care what my children would look like. If I had any by John, I will love him and them to the end of my days. At first, I didn't know if I should, that maybe I was wrong, but now I know he is the one for me, and I'm going to marry him whether he likes it or not.
Luna smiled with determination in her eyes. Every pony was nodding their heads in agreement. Celestia only looked at her sister with a smile and a few tears in her eyes.
That's my little sister. That's all I ever wanted, and maybe I did rush things a little bit. After all, John and Spike deserved a say in this. John was more so homeless, no family, no friends. Then all of a sudden he comes to this world of his dreams, gains a brother, then a fiancé. He's used to being hurt, but I guess he just doesn't really realize that all of this is coming true for him. But if you give him time and work with him, he'll love you no matter what. He just needs time to realize that it's not just a dream, that this is real. The same goes with Spike. He was also hurt by Equestria's sake. He just became a teen and then has to just get married. I'll have to change the time of day and the marriage. Spike needs to know that each one truly loves him, and he needs to know why and how. It's the least I can really do.
Rose agreed with everything she said up to that point.
Change the time and day only? Why not just postpone the weddings until they're really sure?
Rose suggested to her master. Now, think of the atmosphere of this gentle, loving music playing in the background while Celestia was telling her story up to this part. Then all of a sudden, it comes to a screeching halt. What just happened was Celestia snapped ahead towards Rose with her famous poker face.
You have got to be kidding me, right? You think I'm dumb, a fool? I said I'll give them time, not allow them to have a chance to bolt up to another country.
Now it was Rose's turn to be confused.
What? Now you've got to be kidding me. Sister, what do you mean?
Luna agreed with Rose. Celestia only shook her head in disappointment.
You don't get my point, do you? While I agreed that I was rushing a little bit, I had reason to. Spike and John are very shy around girls. That being said, if they don't marry now, it might not ever happen. Plus, I'm not giving them a chance to get cold hooves, or feet in the matter, so they can use the old being with them as my friends and more family that I need. No!
Celestia finished in a stern tone while still in her poker face mode. Luna and Rose looked at each other square in the eye, looking back to Celestia, nodding their heads, shouting in unison,
Good point!
Good! Celestia smiled.
Now, let's talk to the boys in questions, shall we? Yes.
Luna blushed.
I would love to see him.
She paused for a brief second.
My darling, I do miss him. I want to hold him and love him.
She buried her face in her hooves, just having said that out loud and finally not caring who heard. Celestia and Rose looked at each other in shock and in joy.
You go, princess, that's more like it,
both said in unison. All three laughed together. Once they all calmed down, Luna turned to one of the guards.
You there, can you please summon John and Spike? I'm sure that the girls would want to talk to Spike, and, well, I would like to speak to John, so have the alchemist use the locator spell to find them. They're probably with Twilight's parents still.
Celestia nodded in agreement.
Don't worry, sister. That was my first order of the day. The alchemist should have located them by now. Right?
She said with a smile, turning to the guard. However, his face was being all frightened, told her otherwise.
What's wrong? Has something happened? Speak up!
No, nothing is wrong with John or Spike. It's just we haven't really been able to find them. The alchemists have been using their spells, but nothing. Not even a small little trace. And there was silence. Almost too silent.